Well, yeah, certainly the last 3.5 weeks have been a whirlwind for me personally, for our staff as we put it together, and certainly for my family as well. It's been a very efficient, I think, operation to get to the point where we're at right now. And I felt like I was at the Boca Bowl. I had made mention of being a one-man band, and I was trying to play a lot of instruments at one time simultaneously. And I'll tell you, I could not be more excited about having a guitar player and a drummer and a saxophone player. I mean, now we have a lot of players of musical instruments, and I'm ecstatic about the group of coaches that we've been able to put together in a short period of time. It was a very easy process for me, really as a result of my exposure to so many different programs, so many different levels, and really having a chance to trust my eyes in this process. And I think that's the number one thing. I've always heard you really only have one opportunity to get it right with your first staff. And I was certainly going to default to what I've seen with my own eyes and the relationships that I've had a chance to build. But more importantly, I wanted to find the perfect fit for Western Kentucky University on these assistant coaches, coordinators, operations staff. And I feel really good about where we're at from that standpoint, because these guys are great teachers. They're great men of character. And I think they're all servant leaders. And that's one thing that I wanted in this program. We talked about it as our 5 goals. One of them was to serve the community relentlessly. Well, how are we going to ask that out of our players if our coaching staff and myself isn't going to embody that? And I feel like these men are all men that are really looking forward to getting out into the community here. We've had a chance to have some really good meals here in town already. It's been really fun. And just to have a chance to break bread in this community and feel a part of it so quickly has been very good. Lastly, had a chance last night to go to my first Western Kentucky basketball game since 2010, and got a chance to see us get a huge win over the 49ers of Charlotte. We got a nice win streak going, and I'm gonna be there again on Saturday night, so I hope to see a whole heck of a lot of Hilltopper fans supporting the squad, and I'd like to see some more red towels out there too. So I want to see those red towels waving, and I'm gonna try to bring mine too. So with that, I'd like to open up for questions.
Junior Adams was the right choice.
Yeah, so Junior Adams, once again, going back to the theme of trusting my eyes, I think the big thing with Junior is he's a guy that I've been in the foxhole with. I've coordinated, and when you have a chance to coordinate, it's really about the guys that surround you, because they need to take your message, they need to take your scheme and go teach it to their respective rooms. And I really don't believe that I've been around as good of a football mind, as good of a teacher, and as good of a guy to be in the foxhole with from a game planning standpoint as Junior Adams. Additionally, I've been exposed to a lot of different parts of the country in coaching, so I know, I've coached in the Northeast, I've coached in the Midwest, I've coached now in the South. This is my second time down here, and certainly I've spent a lot of time on the West Coast. So I've gotten to know a lot of the receiver coaches in America, and I truly believe this. A lot of people have press conference fodder and whatnot. I truly believe that Junior Adams is one of the 2 or 3 best wide receiver technicians and developers in the country. And I think the proof is in the pudding. You look at Cooper Kupp at Eastern Washington and what he was able to do. Junior recruited him and developed him as a young player. And then you look really at Boise State over the last 3 years. He's put together an unbelievable crop of receivers and was able to bring in, into the system, Thomas Spurbeck, who became the all-time leading receiver in Boise State history. And as we all know, that program's put up some numbers over the last 25 years. Additionally, what he's able to do in a short period of time with Cedric Wilson as a junior college transfer, was able to make unbelievable progress with him, and he was one of the most dynamic receivers in the country. So I feel really good about both his ability to coordinate and his intellect, because he's gone through that process with me. But additionally, this receiver core, which is going to be young, but has a lot of talent, is going to be developed by one of the 2 or 3 best receiver coaches on all of college football.
Mike, you being an offensive guy, background-wise, Clayton White, why is he the right guy, and why, especially since you focus more on the offensive side, is it important to get that defensive coordinator position higher right?
Well, first off, Clayton he's incredibly bright. He's got an infectious personality, but he also has a high standard of which he wants his players to play. And I've seen that both here, at Western Kentucky back in 2010, and what he did in developing a young defensive back group, a lot of freshmen having to play that year, and then really dating back to Sanford. I was a quality control offensive assistant there. He was a full-time coach. So I had a chance to see what he was able to do defensively as a coach, as a teacher, as one who has a high demand on his players, and they in turn play hard for him. I really wanted to put forth a defense, and put it in place where that defensive coordinator has a great track record of being around some of the best defensive minds in college football. And so when you look at Clayton White, you look at Scott Schaefer as one of his mentors, both at Western Michigan and then again at Sanford. Okay, you look at when he came to Western Kentucky, him working for Clint Bowen, who did an outstanding job here in a short period of time, and then obviously went back to his alma mater at Kansas. So having that exposure to Clint Bowen, then he was with Don Brown. Don Brown's one of the best defensive minds in the game, without question, and he was handsomely rewarded for that as well recently, as he should be. And Don Brown was a guy that Clayton had a chance to cross paths with at UConn, and then I really believe that Dave Huxtable at NC State had a chance to coach against them this year, and I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think I've ever been a part of a shutout as a player or as a coach. And we scored 3 points against them. So watching them on film, not just the fact that we played in a hurricane in Hurricane Matthew, which quite frankly the game shouldn't have been played, but that's another point. But really, with that being said, going into that game, we were very concerned about facing that defensive unit because it was a combination of talent. Sound and simple scheme, and there were opportunities for guys to play fast and play early. Now, with that being said, Clayton's a guy that's going to adapt the system to the personnel. So what you see if you put on a YouTube clip of NC State on defense, that's not necessarily going to be what you're going to see from Western Kentucky in 2017. All right, he's had background in 3-down systems as well, in bare front systems, and he's also played single high and 2 high. He's been a part of heavy blitz structures. So with all that being said, that's all going to come together. And he's surrounded himself with really good defensive coaches that can also implement and ideas and add to what he's been around.
Mike, I guess to follow up, it sounds like that game when you went against Clayton's defense, and I realize the weather conditions got severe, it sounds like it planted a seed in your head that's like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yep. I think that game, put the exclamation point on it. I think that if you want to talk about the interview process, I feel like my interview process to get the head coaching job at Western Kentucky was with Todd Stewart in 2010. And seeing me work and seeing me recruit and how I interacted with the players in the community. I think that was my personal interview process, in addition to going forward with a traditional interview process. But Todd Stewart trusted his eyes. I've had the same opportunity with Clayton White to be on the same staff as him and see how he works and see what kind of family man he is and what a great father he is and a great husband to Kelly. And I've also had a chance to see his intellect and the way he thinks about football. So if there was an interview process with Clayton, it would be from the 3 years that we spent together working on the same staff. And not because we're friends, although we are, but more importantly because I want this defense to be the best in the Conference USA. And that's where we're going to work towards, and that's where we're headed. And I think we have the young talent to make that a reality.
The kind of bounce up that you talked about the defense, adjusting to the personnel, is that exactly kind of you approach the offense? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the great thing about the offensive structure that I personally have had a chance to be a part of, both at Notre Dame, at Sanford, obviously here at Western Kentucky with Coach Taggart, but certainly at Boise State, is that those systems are all malleable. Those systems can be, heavy tight end based. They can be heavy wide receiver based. And the beauty of it all is that we're going to show all that to defenses. Now we obviously have a very competitive and very open position at tight end. And we want to build that and fortify that through the recruiting process, and also potentially look at the graduate transfer market as that thing unfolds. But we want to be very multiple in what we do. But if we don't have the bodies at tight end, the bodies to play fullback, as we get to know our team better and as we get to know the market that's out there from a recruiting standpoint, then we'll be very heavy wide receiver based, and we'll be very heavy running back based because we have several young and very impressive running backs that are coming up, as well as the potential of seeing where Leon Allen is going into fall camp.
Is Leon a possibility to come back for 60-yard game?
I think I haven't had a chance to really get to know Leon. My coach Sanford Senior certainly has. He's gotten on the phone with him, and I think the biggest thing for me as it pertains to Leon is I want Leon to be a success story here at Western Kentucky. I mean, he's one of the best running backs in the country over the course of his first few years here on the Hill. I think Leon's shown the willingness and the determination to want to be a guy that finishes right. And our vision for this program and what we want to see are guys that are holding that WKU diploma in one hand and 5 championship rings in the other, just on every finger. And I want Leon to be the guy that completes that mission with a great 6 year here.
Mike, we asked your dad about, for lack of a better phrase, the balance, where, he's your biggest influence. But now he's on your staff, and he said that it is kind of a balance on when you come to it for his advice, but at the same time, he acknowledges that obviously, for lack of a better phrase, it's your ship now. Mm-hmm. Is that something you're going to have to adjust to as well?
Honestly, really, I thought maybe going into it, it might be a balancing act or it might be uncomfortable, but I really feel like I was called for this moment to be a head football coach. I don't think of that really for anything upon myself or me being something special. I just feel like I was called to do this, and I feel there's a higher power that was involved in that. And I feel like when you sit at the head of the table in that staff room for the first time, and you have a chance to address your staff, I feel like you know that it's right, and you also know that the guys that you've put together are the right guys to support us, and that we are going to do this together. And there's not going to be a whole bunch of I in this program. There's going to be a whole lot of we. And I think that that's going to be an easy transition for me and Coach Sanford Senior to be able to really work through that transition because, we have very clearly defined roles. When I had a chance to sit down with the staff for the first time, I talked about each and every position and exactly what they're going to do. So there is one offensive coordinator. His name's Junior Adams. He's in charge of the offense and implementing the schemes, coaching the coaches, and calling the plays. With my, certainly with my advice and input as we go forward. There's one defensive coordinator. His name's Clayton White, and he's in charge of calling the defense, running the defense, being in charge of the recruiting efforts on defense. And I want those guys to understand exactly their roles. There's one assistant head coach. That's Steve Spurrier Jr. And Steve Spurrier is going to be a great asset for me. And his role as an assistant head coach is there's going to be times where I'm not going to be in the building. He's going to address the team. He's going to address the staff if I'm not there. It's not just a title that we throw out lightly. With this staff, I didn't want to throw out 17 titles. I wanted it to be very clearly defined because I've had a chance to be a part of it done the other way. And I think that sometimes it gets very nebulous in terms of where coaches are and what their roles are. So I think my dad being the special teams coordinator, he's got enough on his plate with being a special teams coordinator. And when I hired him, I wanted him to be the head coach of the special teams units and to coach the coaches and employ the assistant coaches in their experiences. Jamie DeBerry, he's been a special teams coordinator. Clayton White's been a special teams coordinator. These are guys that have done it before, and so my dad's going to be in charge of that special teams unit. He's the head coach of that unit. What better guy to find to be a head coach of a special teams unit, a crossroads positional unit, right, between offense, defense, and specialists? They're all coming together for one goal. What better guy for that than a guy who's been a head coach for 9 years? And I think that was a great, he's a great addition for me and for us and for our staff in this program to bring that 40-plus years of coaching experience and apply it to the special teams room.
When the team gets back, what will the message be to them in the offseason?
Well, first off, I want to explain to them what the pursuit is. I'm not, certainly you look at that and it looks like a social media campaign and a social media brand and, recruiting. And I want to explain to them exactly what the pursuit means. And, there'll be some stuff that's in-house. There'll be some stuff that we want to explain about the standard and what pursuing those 5 goals that we laid out as a program, what pursuing those goals really looks like. It's going to be different. It's going to be different. I mean, all I know is the experiences that I've been around and I've had a chance to be exposed to from a head coach standpoint. And I want to take the best of all those and the great experiences that I've had working for great coaches. And I want to apply that here and make it our own that's uniquely Western Kentucky. And, I think the big thing that's going to be, there's going to be a high standard for the way that we conduct ourselves. And really, first and foremost, we're going to take care of that which has been given to us. So first thing that's been given to you is an opportunity to get a meaningful degree from Western Kentucky University. So our team GPA is going to be set at a pretty high bar. We're going to set a team GPA goal of 2.75. A cumulative GPA, which might not sound that high, but when you think about 110 type of guys that are coming together for one common goal, we're going to set a very high standard for what our academics are going to be. The weight room, we're going to demand a lot out of those players, and we don't want anybody in that building to feel like we've accomplished what we want to accomplish. It's great what's happened. Okay, but it's not about what you did yesterday. It's about what you do today, and that leads to what you do tomorrow. And that's what we're going to really be preaching.
What are the challenges of putting together a first recruiting class if you're kind of late in the process?
Yeah, I think just knowing your roster, you don't have the benefit of having coached all these guys firsthand, but we've got to work on that. The graduate assistants that we have that have been retained from the previous staff, Kenny Martin and Anthony Davis, as well as Springer. Those guys have been really beneficial. Springer's gonna his time's exhausted. His NCAA GA clock with Western Kentucky's exhausted, but he's staying on in the interim, and wanted him to feel like he's a part of the family, so that he can help us in this transition as well. So we've gone to task with those GAs making cut-ups of our returning players so that we can get to know our roster, our strengths, and certainly our areas that are maybe concerning. And then we use that information to disseminate as an offensive and defensive staff and fill those needs that we need to fill. I mentioned a couple already. Obviously, the tight end position. I think that's an area where we have some potential great players in-house, but the cupboard's a little bit bare there. Probably from his style of offense. The other one is running back. Just got to continue to build depth at running back. We do a great job on the tackle market, offensive tackles. And then defensively, you feel pretty good about where the balance of the roster is, but we just got to get some defensive backs that have versatility, so they can play safety, could potentially play a nickel if that's what we want to do from maybe a 3-3-5 standpoint or even a 4-2-5 standpoint. That nickel position's a versatile player, and a guy that can blitz off the edge, set the edge, and then certainly cover downfield with post help. So I think we've done a good job of identifying the needs. And now it's about just looking to see who else is out there. Really hone in on these commits, which have done a great job of sticking with us. And we got to make sure we go out and get to know what else is out there.
It's kind of a big picture question, but there's been talk recently some group of five kind of splitting off doing its own thing, doing everybody else sort of separating from the New Year's Six type. As a new group of five coaches, what are your thoughts on that potential move?
Well, there's certainly been discussions about that for the last 4 or 5 years. So if that's heated up in the last week or so, quite frankly, I've had my head kind of buried in the sand a little bit and just tried to be nose to the grindstone. But that's always going to be a possibility. And I think if that does happen, we'll do everything in our power to be the best group of five conference team in all of college football, and play for the ultimate prize in the group of five. If that doesn't happen, our goals stay the same, right? And that fifth goal is to win a New Year's Six bowl game, and that's something we're looking forward to working towards in the pursuit.
Mike, you talked about Jamie and Clayton and you with your staff. How much of a factor does it help that you've got a staff that knows what it takes to win on the Hill, and they know this domain?
That was really important in putting this staff together. Is I want, it's funny being at the basketball game last night and our staff having a chance to meet WKU alums, WKU boosters, WKU fans. We were talking about in the staff room, if you talk to any one of those fans or those alums, you wouldn't think that there's anything different about this university, this community, and this academic program, and particularly this football program, than Alabama fans do for their own team. I mean, there is an incredible pride here in Bowling Green, and there's incredible pride with Western Kentucky alums and fans. And I wanted guys that really could appreciate that and grasp that and take the traditions of Western Kentucky, educate the rest of the staff, but then take those and really preach those as we're out on the recruiting trail, and really preach those to our current roster. I actually had a chance to bring President Ransdell in to address the full staff yesterday, and he spent about an hour and a half of his time with us, which was an incredible opportunity. And I think the thing that was great about it is I wanted President Ransdell to have a chance to install. You talk about football coaches install offensive schemes, defensive schemes. I wanted President Ransdell to install everything that's unique about Western Kentucky to this new staff. And what's been done in the last 15, 20 years, what's been done in the last 5, 6 years that I didn't have a chance to see, and install those new concepts, those new ideals, what the mission statement of the university is. But I also wanted him to install the different traditions. I remember when I was recruiting for Western Kentucky back in 2010, I used to love sitting in a living room or at the dining table with the family and tell them everything unique about our mascot, our team logo with the towel, and then certainly being the Hilltoppers, and explain all three of those things because it's unique, and it's unique to who we are as a university. It's unique to Western Kentucky, and we're not going to apologize for that. And so I wanted those guys to be on board and have Jamie and have Kenny Martin, as guys that can really educate the rest of the staff, and then myself and Clayton White and Nick Uhlenhop as guys that can really fill in the staff for what Western Kentucky really is all about.
Anything else, Coach? Coach, thank you.